Okay, hello. A warm welcome to everyone, both those of you joining us here in the room and those of you following the masterclasses online. My name is Miro Notev. I'm the head of the media and events team at the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights, the agency that's organizing this event. And it's my pleasure to welcome all of you, welcome again those of you online, and also to be the person that's introducing our wonderful speakers today, your masterclass hosts for this session. Before I do that, a brief introduction about the masterclasses. They're our effort to make your experience as a participant slightly more tangible. They're definitely a learning experience, or we aim for them to be that. And also, I have no doubt that they will give you inspiration for further action in your respective areas of work. I also want to mention that in addition to the live streaming, the masterclasses will be recorded and they will be made available after the forum, so you could watch them again later on. And of course, as you already see, we have live transcription and also live sign language interpretation, and I should speak a bit more slowly so that they can catch up. So enough about the format. Of course, we are here to hear from the City of Vienna and the City of Mechelen, and their masterclass entitled Human Rights Cities from Classroom Engagement to Community Action. I'm not going to give much of a spoiler. They will do an excellent job at presenting the wonderful work that they've done. But I want to just briefly introduce the speakers to you, and I start with Shams Asadi, who is the Human Rights Commissioner and head of the Human Rights Office at the City of Vienna. And I start with you, Shams, because you have been a wonderful partner and friend to the EU Agency of Fundamental Rights. So I want to thank you for that. And also thank you for being part of this masterclass today. And Shams is joined by Sarah Teierling, who is a project manager at the City of Vienna in the Human Rights Office, and Tamara Stojanovic, who is a project manager at the City of Mechelen. The stage is yours.
So many thanks, Miro, for your kind introduction. I'm going to tell you a little bit of human rights cities, that what we do, because we work since years, but maybe it's not a quite familiar concept for most of the people, that what really human rights cities are. It is our just masterclass structure. We will give you a good practice example of that. We two cities, we work since maybe 2 years now, and still we have 1 year to evaluate our projects. And afterwards, we have concluding remarks and then questions and answers. And we will invite you to join us for questions and answers. So what are the human rights cities? Human rights, if you, consider human rights city as a label, human rights cities, they apply to the cities that we work for just uploading of the international norms and standards. And it is more or less political commitment, but the city administrations, they come with politicians, and of course we have the NGOs and civil society that we work together. So we try to upload the standards and norms, and they are global mostly, but they are also European standards. One of our most important norms, it is the human rights-based approach. And human rights-based approach is more or less, it's just a guideline for us to work with, for implement the human rights, I would say. And it has 4 guiding principles. And the most important part is participation. Participation, it means to involve the members of the society, whoever they are, and they are in our cities, to the decision-making processes. And equality, it means non-discrimination and equality for all members of our society. And of course, accountability and transparency, I'm not going to go to details. Everybody knows that it is, just for a democratic society, it is very important. But these two factors, they are also important for gaining the trust for politicians and administrations. We do have, of course, the Charter of the Fundamental Rights that we work on that, and especially we have started new movement in Europe that we work on Charter, and the cities we came together, and even with European funding we work for implementing of Charter. And Fundamental Rights Agency was in the last years, they have included the local level to their work, and we do have a good framework for human rights cities and even guidelines for the cities that it is written, and it is on homepage of the Fundamental Rights Agency. Vienna is an experienced city in human rights. We started 2013 with a process. And the occasion was to look at to our structures to find out if we really implement the human rights principles. And 1993, it was a conference in Vienna that from United Nations, and during this conference, for the first time, the role of cities and the responsibility of cities as duty bearers for human rights, it was mentioned. So we took this, the responsibility as an occasion, and we started 2013 with a process. This process was a participatory process. It means youth in our society, NGOs, civil society, administration, and politicians even. We worked, and after 2 years, it was in December that City Council approved the declaration of the City of Vienna for being a human rights city. So City of Vienna became a human rights city, but still we didn't have it in our structures. And in 2015, we established the Human Rights Office, and I have the honor to be appointed for this honorable work that we have started. It is an exciting journey in Vienna that since 10 years it's going on. And if you are interested in the details of our work, we do have a stand in Marketplace. And it is a kind of reflection to our work in this marketplace. Please take your time and talk to my colleagues on the stand, and of course, I myself am available too. 5 years that we worked, we noticed that still we are a human rights city, and Vienna is a city with 2 million. If really we want to get the hearts and hearts of our residents, we have to go to the detail, or we go to the deep of our society. And we started with a pilot project, Human Rights Districts. Vienna is divided to 23 districts, and meanwhile, we do have 15 out of these 23 districts as human rights districts. And we work with people at neighborhood level, and we try to, even if they are smallest projects, we see that how much impact they have on the democracy and rule of law and participation and non-discrimination in our districts. And one of projects that it is, for me, very valuable project that we started with City of Mechelen as a lead project, and with 6 cities, it is Must Lab, that my 2 colleagues, they are going to give you some insights on the details of project. So I would invite Sarah and Tamara to come on the stage and tell you about our master class and the example of our Master Lab project. Thank you. I will give you the floor.
Thank you, Shams.
Thank you, Shams.
This one.
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here during the Fundamental Rights Forum to present the Master Lab project. In a nutshell, Master Lab is about putting those human rights principles into practice. What we did is we asked the question, what would happen if we took a complex societal problem, we gathered everybody who has a stake in it, and we gave them all an equal say into how the problem should be addressed. 6 European cities took up that challenge. They chose different policy issues. They gathered all the different stakeholders. They developed pilot projects, gathered the results of those pilots, and they're now formulating policy recommendations based on those results. The City of Vienna and the City of Mechelen decided to focus on the education and on the participation of youth in participatory processes, which is why those are also the 2 central topics of this masterclass: participation and inclusion of youth, challenges and approaches, and education beyond school, fostering engagement and creating a sense of belonging.
Well, now we're presenting the 2 cases of the 2 cities, and I will start with Vienna. As you probably all know, Vienna was rated the most livable city for several times now, but that doesn't mean that we can stop here. We are a very diverse city, and we are home to people from over 180 nationalities. Half of our 2 million population has origins in other countries. However, 33% of our residents have no or limited voting rights due to the citizenship. As a municipality, Vienna cannot change the national citizenship law, but what we can do is advocate for a more modern citizenship law and also take measures to enable social participation in all areas of life. So within the Master Lab project, we were aiming at an active involvement and engagement of local stakeholders and open a safe space for co-creation. Our overarching goal is to promote inclusion and social cohesion and to enhance human rights education. What about Mechelen?
City of Mechelen. It's a city that is situated 20 kilometers away from Brussels. It has 88,000 residents. Almost 40% are first or second generation migrants. And we have more than 120 nationalities. So it's very diverse. And we are proud because of our approach to that kind of diversity. On the one hand, that approach is based on fundamental values and human rights that are not negotiable. And on the other hand, we insist on all the differences to be recognized and be respected. What our goal is to have all those nationalities not just living next to each other in peace, but really living together, interacting and connecting together. And that means also deciding together. Like in Vienna, unfortunately, not everybody has equal access to policy-making processes, which is why we took part in the Master Lab project. We wanted to see whether the methodology of the policy labs and of the multi-stakeholder approach can level the playing field for everybody involved. And the short answer is that yes, it can, especially for the more vulnerable groups, for people with migration background, and even for children and youth. When working with children and young people in a policy lab setting, it's important to take into account some ethical considerations. There are also methodological issues, but it's definitely worth it. Why we chose education as a topic. In the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it's stated that education is about the full development of the human potential. It goes way beyond the acquiring of knowledge. And the question we asked in Mechelen, because we were focused on youth and children with migration background, is we asked what needs to change in the school environment so that young people have the feeling that they belong there. This feeling of belonging, this feeling of being able to be who you really are, is extremely important. We know that children and youth who don't have this feeling, that they suffer from it. They suffer, their academic results suffer of it, and their general well-being suffers from it. And there's also a danger on the level, on the whole society, that if enough people have the feelings of not belonging, that they will aim at creating alternative communities. So that's why we chose for education in Mechelen.
When it comes to putting human rights into practice on a local level, as Shams has said in the introduction, the Human Rights District play a crucial role. Why? They are making human rights part of people's daily lives, be it at work, in school, or in the public. And they are promoting an active democracy by showing also a good coexistence in a diverse society. There is a saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And the saying points out to the fact that our lives are influenced by many people and many different areas of life. So when we're understanding human rights as a cross-cutting issue, we also need to consider and take into account those different perspectives. When we started the policy lab in Vienna on education and participation, we invited stakeholders from 3 human rights districts, namely Neubau, Favoriten, and Michelen. And we invited them to share their perspectives on current challenges and also to find solutions for them. And they developed 3 local pilot projects on different topics. Today I'm only focusing on the one that is regarding school, and it's called the Open School and Info Cafe. So the challenges that the stakeholders have identified and the reason why they started this project were the following. Weak school society, no connection to the school. Then little or almost no contact with the pupils' parents. A lack of information on support services for pupils and their parents. And a lack of trust in public institutions and authorities. Those were the challenges that they identified and they wanted to tackle within the local pilot projects.
And about Mechelen, Sarah started starting her talk with a saying. I would like to start with another one. Everything that you do for me, but without me, you do against me. And talking about a sense of belonging in school, and to do that without children and youth was, of course, unthinkable for us. So we included them into our project. We had 2 11-year-old girls participate in the policy lab with all the other stakeholders. We interviewed more than 30 teenagers, boys and girls. We asked them about their experience at school. We included children in the pilot project, so we know we are sure that their voice is really heard in the process. And while listening to what children and young people had to say, we came to 2 conclusions. That there are 2 big takeaways. First of all, is that children and young people with migration background, they have the need, a really strong need, to take pride in who they are at school, every day. And what they also stressed is they want to be proud, not only during the Cultural Heritage Week or during the International Day of the Mother Language, but every single day. They also, almost all of them stressed that they need somebody at school, a teacher or another authority figure who is in their corner. They need to have a feeling that at least one teacher is on their side. And when they talk about that, they talk about having somebody who they can connect with. More often than not, it's somebody that somebody has the same cultural and ethnic background, but that is not necessarily so. So we took those 2 core messages that we gather from children and from the young people, and we translated them into local projects. The first a local pilot that we did in Mechelen is called Make Diversity Visible. One of the schools participating in the project took the first message really seriously, and they decided, okay, what can we do in our school to make diversity visible every single day? Their pilot included three classrooms with 5-year-olds and 11-year-olds. They asked them to bring objects that they find important from home, to bring them to school. They invited them to talk about their parents, they invited them to talk in their mother language, and then they took photos of their presentations and they put them in the classroom walls. And what they saw within a matter of weeks is that the group dynamic in the classroom started to change. They saw children connecting better with each other. They saw children taking pride. They were pointing at those photos and saying, wow, this is what I told you about. So there were very, very positive aspects to it, and now they want to upscale it. They want to do it in the whole school. And from the project, we want to share this good practice with other schools in Mechelen. We created an educational package, but more than everything, we want to share the story about this. And the second is called the Mosaic. I told you that we interviewed 30 young people, teenagers, boys and girls. They shared their stories. We asked them, how does it feel to be in a very diverse school, and how do you connect with teachers? We collected a lot of positive stories, unfortunately also a lot of negative stories. And we thought about how to translate those stories into a format that would speak to young people, so we decided to make a video. We are now in the process of making a video with a lot of authentic elements in order to raise awareness to the fact that there is a stark contrast between the diversity in the population of youth and children and the teaching force. So this is what those are the two pilot projects in the city of Mechelen out of 3 that we are doing with Masterlab.
In Vienna, the initial idea, or the idea behind the project Open School and Info Café, was that education is not only shaped at school. The living conditions of children and possible challenges within the family also have an effect on the learning success of children. So therefore, we wanted to invite the families, in this case close to the school, in a park, in a public space, and chat with them and see where their challenges lie and what concerns or needs they might have. So we started this very low threshold format in the public to get into touch with them. One of the key elements that we tried or that we incorporated in this project were the complementary activities for both pupils and their parents. While the children were playing, dancing, or painting, the parents were actually free to walk around in the park, have a look at the information stands, chat with the school staff, or talk to our experts. We had almost 20 partner organizations involved in this project. And at the information stands were multilingual experts who provided free counseling or information on support services for both children and their parents. The goal or the aim of this project was to enable access to participation for all, regardless of their origin or their income. And I'm very proud to say that with the 3 events that took place in that park, we reached around 350 people. We had 3 activities taking place there, and we are very happy with the results when it comes to strengthening the school community and all the challenges that I mentioned before. Maybe I go a little bit into detail when it comes to results. What was interesting was to see that if you want to strengthen the school community, you really have to establish a connection to the school as a social space for children, obviously, but also for the parents. So there should be an atmosphere of being welcomed, to exchange, to talk about situations, problems maybe. Then the second one is that the complementary activities worked really well. So I had the impression, and also our partners had the impression, that the parents were actually glad to have some free times while their children were engaging in the activities to really exchange, be it with other parents or with our experts, and be it at the free buffet or at the activities, the information stands, and so on. And the third one is quite obvious, but still I want to really point it out. Continuity is needed to build trust and to overcome inhibitions and concerns towards public institutions and authorities. So our project was quite a success with really tangible results. And the stakeholders involved in this project were so happy with the results that they wanted to continue the good work and also the cooperation that has started. So we are currently working on an illustration that you can see here. And this illustration is meant to share the results and the goals of this format and to also bring it to other schools or other districts. Our illustrator asked me to mention that this is just a draft. This is not the final version. If you're interested in the final version, please feel free to reach out to me. And then let's have a look at the key takeaways. So the big question is, what is the key to success, to successfully implement a participative project? Well, that depends on the local context, that's clear. But still, we're going to share our lessons learned. And for Vienna, the first one would be to really take a user, or in our case, citizen, resident-centered perspective. And that means that if you want to reach out to the population, you really have to put their needs and their demands at the center of the design of a project. And in order to enable access to participation for everyone, different methods, various methods, and sometimes maybe unconventional methods are needed. Also important topics like multilingualism or childcare, barrier-free access to activities need to be taken into consideration. Then the second one, however obvious this might seem, meeting at an eye level is crucial. It's crucial because it facilitates to establish a relationship of trust and also the willingness to reach out or to cooperate. And the third one would be to overcome silo thinking. What do I mean by that? Working life is nowadays very much oriented towards the clear definition of independent working areas and competences. However, this project has shown that sometimes it's useful to think two seemingly opposed areas together. For example, financial, consultancy, and school. Because in our project, we involved very different organizations and departments on topics like health, finances, language learning, counseling, and so on and so forth.
And when it comes to Mechelen, what we learn from working with children and youth is that their experience counts. When you want to do a participatory process with a mixed group, with children and young people on the one hand and adults on the other one, you see that children and young people are reluctant to participate, to say the very least. They think they don't have much to contribute. They are too young, they don't have the experience. But nothing is further from the truth. They have the unique advantage of being experts in their own experience. They're the only one who can tell the story from their own perspective. They bring something unique to the table. And that's something, if you work with youth and children, there's something they need to hear from you every single day, from the beginning of the project until the very end. And we saw in Masterlab that the adults participating in the policy lab, I'm talking about parents, about and representative of NGO organizations, about policymakers, they were all moved from what they heard from the children. The second point is that good facilitation is key to the success. Anybody who has ever organized a participatory process knows that the first obstacle is to bring everybody together. The second obstacle is to bring out all the voices. That's not something that is easy to do, but it's necessary to do. because only by bringing up all the different voices, all the different perspectives, you can create the necessary interlacement to create a shared story. And good facilitation is really crucial for that. And the third takeaway is that the value in a participatory process lies in the process itself. I talked about the educational package that we are going to develop. I talked about the video that we're going to make. Those are very specific products. But what we saw is also changes in the dynamic. Before starting the project, I talked to parents, I talked to policymakers, I talked to everybody involved, and there was a lot of us, them talk there. Who is to be, whose fault it is that there is this lack of sense of belonging? Who should actually take care of that? And by the end of the Policy Lab workshops last year, we saw that there was a shift in there. And that's something really valuable. And the second part that we learned is that the scary part, especially for the policymaker involved, was to share the decision-making power. And in the end, we saw also that they were satisfied with how the process ended up. The decisions were taken collaboratively, and everybody was satisfied with that. And I think one of the most important things is that we saw that the people who took part in the policy labs, the schools, the NGOs, the departments of the city administration, that after they were really, really motivated to work on the topic, to work further on the topic on diversity, inclusion, and to include youth and young people. We also saw that there was more ownership with them. So that's a really important win for us in that sense. This was the story of Vienna and Mechelen within the Masterlab project. I would now like to invite Shams Asadi again for concluding remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamara. Thank you, Sarah, for our just presentation of our inspiring projects that we have. And I'm so happy that we have 1 year time for implementing and for evaluation of this project. For me, I will take 4 points as a conclusion. Number one is that cities and local governments, they have human rights in their nature, in their projects, and they work and they already implement the human rights by delivering these services and making these services accessible for their population. If it is waste management, if it is education, if it is health care, or more than that. Number two is that two cities, Mechelen and Vienna, they are different in size, in history, and in structure. But we came together through a just European project and European funded project. And it is the added value of our work that we can compare and we can just learn from each other and how we implement, and it doesn't matter really which city it is. We can learn from each other. And it was a good project and it was a good process that we had. Number three is, for me, looking at the projects that were implemented, and there are 4 more cities, we see that the smallest projects, they have a huge impact on just democracy and promotion of democracy, and just sense of belonging is very important in a city. Just trust for administrations, trust for the politicians is very important, and of course inclusion. It is the key word of this project. And number 4, it is just multi-stakeholder approach, that it is backbone of a human rights city, but most of the cities that even they don't call it themselves as a human rights city, but still without multi-stakeholder approach, it's nowadays it's impossible to work. So these are more 4 points, and thank you. And I guess we open the floor for questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much for this very, very interesting presentation. I'm with the Austrian Ombudsman Board. Johannes Karniel is my name. I heard a lot about participation and inclusion, and I just wanted to ask, were any of the participants persons with disabilities, or how did you reach out, or what was your approach in Mechelen and Vienna? Thank you very much.
Well, the focus of the project was the participation of residents with migrant background. So what we did is we used social media to invite all the residents of Mechelen to participate. We worked together with NGO organizations in Mechelen that are working with the ethnic and cultural organizations, but we didn't specifically address people with disabilities, and we didn't have them in our project.
The same applies for Vienna for the same reasons. Although we didn't have people with disabilities in the policy lab itself, there were pupils and people from the neighborhood of the activities that we had. So we tried really to open the space for everybody who would like to participate.
And of course, for participation of the people with disabilities, you have to really just create the frame. If you don't create the frame, it's impossible. It is the accessibility, it is just the sign language, or it is much more. And we try to, whatever that we do in the city level, that if it is our homepage, or if it's our events, or just whatever that we include, and we have at the city level a monitoring group of people that they are NGOs, and the people that they are themselves, they are just disabled people that they are in this advisory board, and we try to find out where are the problems in general.
Hello. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for presenting. It was very insightful, especially I'm from Vienna, and I believe that the human rights city aspect is not as high up on the public relations agenda of the mayor as it could be. So thank you so much for being here. The question is more, I think, for Shams and Sarah, but maybe also Tamara can add on it. It's about the levels of that you work in, because you mentioned you had the human rights cities, then we have 15 human rights districts. And then the project actually was built on the Bildungsgrätzl, so it's basically the local area, the neighborhood we call in Vienna. So I'm wondering in how far those three levels differ in participation, in evaluation, in monitoring, and how you can take any maybe best practices from one level, transpose them to the other, or even to a different city. What are your experiences with that? Thank you.
Yes, so you're absolutely right, and this was not an uncomplicated process all the time, but it was very interesting to see also how these different layers interact with each other. What was interesting within the policy lab is that we invited a broad range of stakeholders from the three districts. So in total there were 80 participants that represented the three districts, and they co-created the local projects, and the local projects focused very much on the neighborhood level, on the Grätzl level, as we say here in Vienna, and this was quite interesting because they created very tangible results, and the district took those results and they wanted to replicate those formats in other parts of the districts. So this is also how we level up, and we try to replicate what was tested in one very specific area.
We have, or I would say it's not a problem. We are in a lucky position that we do have Bildungsgrätzl, we do have Bildungschallenge, we do have, many different Bildungsversprecherinnen. I'm sorry, I don't know even if they have an English name. We have we do have a lot of groups that they concerned with our education and educational system. And we are not expert as a human rights office. We are not experts for education, and we do have like a focus group on the right of the child, and we work since 10 years, and we bring everybody that they work in the right of child level together. And it is like the authority for schools, Bildungsdirektion, and we do have all of the departments. And we try to look at to the blind points that the different departments, they don't see, because Vienna is a city administration with 75,000 that they work for the city administration. And if you take the different parts, and not even they are not in the city, we do have like 97,000 that they work for the city administration. So going inside of the city administration, it means it is a huge work that even in 10 years, I would not say that we have succeeded to bring the human rights in the hearts and minds of 79 or 97,000 people that we have in Vienna. But what we do to look at the points like trafficking, child trafficking is a subject that it is a taboo subject, and nobody speaks about that in the society. But we look at, and of course, Vienna is like other cities. We do have this phenomena in our city, and we try to, we are not police to combat the child trafficking. What we could do is to support the children that they are affected by child trafficking. Or we looked at to the needs and desires of the young people with disabilities, what they need. And we noticed that, young people with disabilities, it's not just, it's a very specific group that they have many different needs, and it is just being social, and not only education, even the communication with parents, sometimes it's a question. And we bring the experts together. It's a format that we call it roundtable. And after roundtable, we do have like policy papers that with those policy papers, we go to the politicians, and they have to consider these policy papers in their work. And we were successful from the beginning that we started our job. It was just 2015. It was the European, at that time, position that we confronted with a lot of newcomers that they came to our cities. And to having our first roundtable, it was the unaccompanied minors, to look at them, what we could do. And we tried with the experts, the really very practical points that we just wrote together. And with policy paper, I went to that time, the city councillor. The young people, they need bodies, they need education, that we need schools that, in our education system, it is just obligatory school is until 15, but what is happening to a child that just turned to 16? To bringing them to educational system, or not leaving them alone that, so it's not in our system, they are here, but we don't know what to do. But all of those subjects that we work on, that very small effects, but it is a very hard way, and we try. And of course, as I mentioned, it is the multi-sectoral approach that we have, and we know that a city cannot be a human rights city just by having a human rights office, and we do have a human rights office, so we are a human rights city. No, we do have a long way ahead of us to work on human rights, for democracy, for rule of law. And we heard today at the opening that actually there is 2 steps forward, and again 1 or sometimes 2 or 3 steps just backside, and we have to catch up the society where they are.
Come to you. Thank you. Yeah, hi, I'm Fanny Matyok. I'm from Hungary, and I'm working on a child participation project in Budapest. And my question is that I know that Vienna has a great child participation strategy also. And my question is, like, how much is connected with the Human Rights City?
Very much, very much. You know, it is child protection, and for the time being, our latest project is just the child guarantee, and look at to the child guarantee and look at to our departments. And of course, child protection is one of those things that we try to bring in all of our departments. It's like a convention, or it's like a treaty that each department, according to their job, they have to. And it's a good cooperation between the or young and youth and children advocates and my department, and we come together and we try to take all of the city administration, and we have almost 50 or 55 departments to look at to the details of their work and to have child protection concept. And of course, child guarantee is just for poverty and again for many different levels. So we work in many different subjects. And if you, I don't know, we know each other and we could just continue our bilateral work anyhow. And just we could learn from you and you could learn from us, and just it could be a good exchange.
Hello, my name is Alice Szczepanikova from the OSCE Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights in Warsaw. Thank you very much for explaining these projects that are done at a local level but can have very wide-ranging implications for exactly the sense of belonging. And I have a question. I work on issues of migrant integration at the local level. And what we see when there's a conflict, a situation that highly polarizes views in schools with very diverse population, pupils bring ideas, bring opinions, and it can be very tense. And in some situations, schools are afraid to let these opinions be voiced. And so then it leads to the situation where pupils feel that they cannot express their grief, let's say, with regard to what's happening to their families back home or in the region. How do you in this local project, how have you reflected on that? And do you see any evidence of schools that have implemented these projects that at times of crisis and rising tensions between different groups have been able to cope better so that they don't create a sense of sort of disassociation on the part of pupils who feel they cannot express who they are and what they think in schools?
That's a very good question. Thank you. Something that we discussed during the first policy lab in Mechelen is the way school can approach diversity. Yeah? On the one hand, you have this tendency to assimilate everybody into the local culture. Then that's on the one hand of the spectrum. On the other hand of the spectrum, you have a school that makes diversity. That speaks about diversity and speaks about difficult issues and brings all that to the table. But in the middle, there is one sort of approach that is, we call it the colorblind approach. Huh? I don't know if the word says anything to you. It's about having the vision of the school in that case is of a school, okay, we accept everybody. We don't see color. We accept everybody as individual and as they are. But by doing that, you neglect to talk about systematic exclusion, about systematic problems. So what we try to do is bring that dialogue within the policy labs and to invite all the participants, all the schools there to talk about it, even to talk about it within their schools and within during a policy table, for example, not to be afraid to bring even extreme opinions and difficult opinions to the table. We had a similar process in Mechelen before this project 5 years ago, where we brought together different ethnic cultural organizations, different religious organizations who had very strong opinions of how schools in Mechelen should look like. And so that's the only way forward, is to bring everybody together to express themselves and to find a common ground.
Thank you so much. My name is Ingrid and from DK Austria. We are based in Vienna, but we also have projects in the Global South. And my question is related to what the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child adopted last year. So it's the right to a safe, clean and healthy environment for children and youth. And but this is still in writing, and this was also a huge project with 16,000 children worldwide participating. And I also had the chance to be with some children in Vienna, and they also really exchanged so many different views about it and recommendation as well. And my question is this something that you would also be considering, you know, to use this as a pillar or maybe a project, because those are such wonderful examples that you presented. And how about the right to a safe, healthy and sustainable environment? Thank you.
It's a subject for us. We do have two projects on that. From one side, the Human Rights Office, we had last year, it was the just final event in the year of the human rights that we had on 11th and 12th of December. 12th was just allocated to young people, and it was film festival, and we tried to have, and the environment was the major point of this program. And in our panel, we had young people also from Fridays for Future, from, you know, they have 2 or 3 different just NGOs that from young people, they are very active, and we want to listen to them, and we want to, of course, learn from them and to take their concerns. City of Vienna has, as I mentioned, 2 projects. It is the strategy for youth. Maybe you have heard about that. And it was just more than 5,000 young people and children, even from kindergarten age until schools, and even the person or the children that they are not in school but in dual school, or just after 16 they learn and they work in education. And so we try to engage everybody, and it was a policy paper or just they wrote and they gave it to politicians, and it was very good process. And environment was one of those for me, it was the top subject for children. And you see the children, they are really aware, and they know that their future is very much combined with environmental issues and subjects. And the number 2 that the City of Vienna learned from this process was the ideas you have, but you have to allocate some budget for ideas. So it is the Children's Million, and the City of Vienna spends 1 million euro for children and ideas of children and young people. So to implement them, and most of them, they had very good ideas about environment in the city, in their neighborhood areas, and the City of Vienna financed these projects, and they take them very serious. And we do have a parliament for youth. And it was very interesting. I was engaged in one of those discussions with the just 2 or 3 of them that they just organize. It's some kind of self-administration of young people's parliament. And again, subject environment, it was the subject number 1. And we are so happy that even it went to the court of the human rights with one of the most famous lawyers in Austria and Vienna, that even young people, they found a way to go to the court of the human rights. So we would love to cooperate with you, and please just tell us what we could really, how could we cooperate in the future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Frédéric. I'm a board member of the Human Rights City Network. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for this very motivating and encouraging, enriching experience share. I have two questions. The first one is for Sham. You were referring, Sham, regarding people with disability that you have monitoring done by local organization. I was interested to know how is this collected by your office and how do you use it? And the second one is to both of the cities. What do you do to make aware the community that they are also part of a human rights city project and that they contribute to a bigger project which is about human rights cities? Thank you.
I mean, your first question, thank you, Federica. It is not organized from my office. It is office that independent office for security and safety. And they have the monitoring for the rights of the people with disabilities. And it is not a part of the city administration. It is completely independent. And they vote among themselves each 2 years. And it is the representative of affected people. And it is the academical part that for research and for the new ideas. And it is the city administration. So from every part you have some experts inside that, and it is they have meetings that each year it takes place, and it is open, for all of the residents of the city that they can go and they can listen and they bring up their ideas, and they have some focal points like assistance. For disabled people, it was one of those subjects that it is very important in the sense of money. I mean, financing in the sense of who has the assistant or who doesn't have it, and it was in the last years. It was one of those subjects.
Well, maybe I start the answer on the second question. Well, in our case, what is very fruitful and interesting work is really to start relationships with the human rights districts. And that means that we're also getting to know the stakeholders in the districts, be it from the city administration or be it from NGOs, from civil society. And when we started the Human Rights Districts project, we were eager to tell the districts not how to connect your work to human rights, but your work is human rights work, and make that clear. And really also with that feeling and with that understanding, the stakeholders in the districts, they present their work under the human rights umbrella. And this is very fruitful cooperation and also very fulfilling work, because now when we, for example, are invited to event from the districts, they have a banner there saying we are human rights districts, and they are starting events, for example, at the International Day of the Child, and they're inviting us, and they do a lot of activities that are directly connected to human rights, and therefore they also help us to raise awareness among the population.
Well, what we're doing in Mechelen, Mechelen is a smaller city, and for us it was less of a challenge to gather all the stakeholders. But we see that when you talk about the sense of belonging, when you talk about children and youth, that everybody connects instantly. And we had some. In the beginning of the project, when they did the stakeholder analysis, we found that there are some organizations that are very relevant for topics that we don't really work with from the Department of Diversity and Inclusion. So now we reached out to those people, and we see that now we are working much better with them, because we found this with this umbrella term as well. And our aim for this year is to bring Masterlab to the wider population. So not only we want to share the message that the well-being of children and youth is a shared responsibility. That's something that every resident can contribute to. We have an interview in our city magazine, and we're going to organize a very wide conference, a very wide event where we're going to invite the residents of the city as well.
If there are more questions, please feel free to contact us, to reach out to us, either today at the conference, tomorrow, or via LinkedIn, email, whatsoever. We are very happy to continue conversation and exchange on human rights.